it wouldn't be the first revolution that you were part of in American music. Can you tell us a little bit about how Meet the Composer came into being, and what are 2 or 3 of the things you're most proud of during your time as president of Meet the Composer?
Well, how it came into being, I had been working in theater, film, concert, but mostly in theater. I was a music director, composer, and conductor at the American Shakespeare Festival. And in the course of years working to earn a living composing, I had experiences that I had to learn myself. And I also missed the composer world. So one day I received a call from the New York State Council on the Arts that they were interested in a program for composers. And I said, oh, that's something. So I met with them, and out of that meeting, and there were quite a few composers who supported this. Leroy Jenkins, Steve Reich, Philip Glass, your people from the old days of Pittsburgh new music. David Stock, right. Yeah. And Joan Tower, who was the Morty Feldman. Morty would come down and in his eloquent Brooklyn accent would lay down ideas, and it was wonderful. Anyway, we began in New York with the support and blessing of the New York State Council on the Arts, and eventually we set up a whole network of Meet the Composer Midwest, Meet the Composer Southeast, and so forth. So the idea was to populate the country with composers. We even had an image of a plane with all these parachutes coming down, composers, and with a saying such as, be calm, we're on our way.
The composers are coming to rescue us.
Yeah. And the whole idea was to connect composers to people, to audiences, to communities through presentation of their work, a talk, a workshop, a residency. Now, over the course of our years, and I must say that I had never raised money before, but I took to it like a duck to water. I liked raising money, and I felt a passion for this, and also I cared so much about composers, fellow musicians, and people in the arts, and also potential audiences. And I would talk about that to bigwigs at foundation, corporations, and I was curious about them, their lives, and so forth. And so it was a way of connecting and creating programs. We created the residency program. In fact, in Pittsburgh, John Harbison was in residence there when Andre Previn was music director. Jacob Druckmann in the Philharmonic, John Adams, in San Francisco, Jim Tower in St. Louis, etc. Again, we had composers all over. We also created the Composer Choreographer program. These were commissions for composers to work with a choreographer. And one of our grants went to John Cage and Rex Cunningham.
Sure.
And they had never been paid equitable fees. They were quite astounding to get this here. Then we within that there were theater works. We created a special jazz program, commissions. The first program was sought to commission to jazz composers. And at the last minute, the big corporation that was going to back this said that jazz was a very prosperous, money-making entertainment form, and therefore they didn't want to support it. So we asked Leonard Bernstein, who was a board member, if he would write a letter. And he wrote a letter. We sent it to this corporation.
The money came in.
The money came in.
Amazing.
So we had a tremendous base of support because we covered all expressions of music, and we had co-sponsors, people who matched our funds, libraries, PTAs, West Point, this dance company, this orchestra, and so forth. So it was a swelling that developed from all of this. And many composers we hear of today were part of this. Yeah. And we had a wonderful collaboration with Pittsburgh New Music.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think, in fact, they may have been Meet the Composer of Pennsylvania, where the Pennsylvania Arts Council gave a grant to the Pittsburgh New Music. I think so, but something.
We'll check on it, but that sounds probably accurate.
We did lots of programs there.